The Teamsters Union is the most extensive and most diverse in the United States, formed in 1903 to wrest back their just share from corporate greed. Their purpose remains the same today. But what do we know about the over century-long National Teamsters Union history? To start with, drivers of horse-drawn wagons were the backbone of North American prosperity from the colonial period through the turn of the last century period. However, despite their essential role as the economic lifeblood, they remained unorganized and exploited. The Team Drivers International Union was formed in 1901, and the Teamsters National Union started in the following year, merged in 1903 to expand its influence and protect the interests of driver and warehouse workers. They became the Teamsters Union. Then, elected by his peers at the 1907 convention, Dan Tobin served as General President of the Teamsters Union. His leadership would guide the Teamsters for the next 4 to 5 years, giving the fledgling union new energy and a more precise direction. A period of aggressive organizing by the Truck Drivers Labor Union resulted in a widening membership and increased revenue and recognition. Teamsters would soon become the first to represent the drivers of the new motor trucks, making them pioneers of the modern transportation sector. The Teamsters made the first cross-continental delivery of goods by motor truck, and this, by any means, was no small feat. Imagine driving for 91 days with no stuckies, gas stations, restrooms, padded seats, shocks on the truck, and no rail protection from the weather. This incident and others like it led the union to become an outspoken advocate for better roads and better training for motorists. Like Teamster advocates for its members, here on this channel, we are your advocate. So subscribe to this channel for more exciting stories. Also, the outbreak of World War I in 1914 sparked an industrial boom in the United States, which fueled General President Tobin's unrelenting labor organizing efforts. The work of the Teamsters was critical to the war effort. In addition to providing expert vehicle maintenance and repair knowledge, union members helped ensure military success by moving troops and supplies quickly from ports to battle lines. Commander-in-Chief of the American Expeditionary Forces, General John J. Pershing, requested that the Truck Drivers Labor Union train his troops to drive trucks. In 1917, after the United States joined the war, American trucks were vital to the Allied effort as they sped through France and Germany. When men were serving in the military overseas, women were taking their place as motorized workers in the United States. The Teamsters' influence became even more prevalent in the Second World War. We'll go into details on how the Teamsters influenced World War II later on. Again, in 1934, Minneapolis was a central transportation hub in the United States and a major distribution center in the upper Midwest. However, thousands of unorganized truck drivers were in the city's trucking industry. A small group of Teamster members, called General Drivers Local 574, represented the interests of organized truck drivers and had been trying for many years to organize drivers in Minneapolis and create a single industrial organization for them. In February 1934, the Local 574 won a problematic strike at a coal yard and, as a result, saw an unprecedented rise in members and credibility. However, many businesses in the city refused to recognize the union's existence. A general driver's strike was the only option available to the workers at the time. On May 16, the work stoppage officially began. Finally, on August 21, the strike came to a close. The Employers and Citizens Alliance accepted the Teamster Union's significant demands after mediation. Thousands of new members joined the union in workplace elections. Many workers also received considerable pay raises as a result of arbitration. This victory motivated the Teamsters to push forward for even better conditions, like the National Master Freight Agreement, which we'll discuss soon. During World War II, the Teamsters' efforts grew even more. The Allies' victory in World War II was primarily made possible by the Union's contributions, both on the battlefield and at home. President Franklin D. Roosevelt tasked Teamsters General President Dan Tobin with visiting the United Kingdom and providing a report on how the British labor movement contributed to the war effort. Tobin suggested the U.S. labor movement follow the British example and suspend all labor discord in the face of the Axis threat to world freedom upon his return. The truck drivers' labor union led organizational labor in its promise to avoid all work stoppages during the war. Tobin fully approved the policy, stating, "A man who quits work now without the consent and approval of his union, which he cannot get, is and should be and will be classed as an enemy of our nation and our government." What do you think about this policy? Share your thoughts in the comments section. Furthermore, the first National Master Freight Agreement, NMFA, was signed in Chicago on January 15, 1964, by Jimmy Hoffa, and it marked a turning point in the National Teamsters Union history. More than 450,000 over the road, and local cartage drivers across the country would be well protected and well compensated under this contract. Critics and supporters of labor unions alike characterized the contract as an impossible undertaking. This achievement was the pinnacle of Jimmy Hoffa's tenure with the Teamsters, who was the architect and chief negotiator behind the agreement. To maintain workers' high standards and unions' long-term viability, Jimmy Hoffa advocated for master contracts to be implemented across the Teamsters' various trades and professions.
Bravo!
Teamster Union members gained power on par with, if not greater than, big trucking companies. Moreover, good contracts aren't the only way to treat your coworkers with respect and decency. The Teamsters have been fighting for equality since its inception, fighting for women's rights, civil rights, the rights of migrant workers, and protections for minor, senior, and disabled workers. The Teamsters have made more of an impact in these areas than perhaps any other union or organization in North America through legislation, donations, and activism. In the 1950s and 1960s, the Teamsters got heavily involved as the civil rights movement gained momentum. More than 700 families in Freedom Village faced retribution for registering to vote in 1960 because the union supported civil rights organizations by donating money and supplies. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and the Teamsters had a good working relationship, with members serving on various boards and committees dedicated to advancing civil rights. Perhaps the most eventful National Teamsters Union history would be the disappearance of Teamsters boss Jimmy R. Hoffa. After successfully signing the National Master Freight Agreement in January 1964, he was investigated for jury tampering and sentenced to 8 years in a federal penitentiary on March 12. Another 5-year sentence is added for defrauding the Central States Pension Fund about a rail estate development project in Sun Valley, Florida. In 1971, President Nixon commuted Jimmy Hoffa's sentence, and on December 23, he was released from prison. On July 30, 1975, he mysteriously vanished while attempting to reclaim his former glory.
Yeah, you heard right.
There have been numerous theories about his disappearance, but none have been proven true. Throughout the National Teamster Union's history, the Teamsters have experienced both highs and lows, but they remain a formidable force in the struggle for their rights and interests. It is without a doubt that they will continue to exert their impact. If you enjoyed this video, then share it with any of your friends with interest in history. We will see you soon in the following video.